You want scary stories? Listen.
If you grew up anywhere near a summer camp, you probably played some version of this game. 2 mirrors, 1 candle, 1 dark room, and a name you were supposed to say 3 times. Most kids grow up and forget about it. But the woman I'm about to tell you about never did. She is 53 years old now. What happened to her took place more than 30 years ago, during the summer of 1994. And to this day, she cannot sleep in a room with a mirror. If the door is closed, I'm going to call her Laura. That is not her real name, but everything else in the story is exactly how she told it to me. It all began in an old farmhouse owned by her family on the outskirts of a small town. It had a long front porch, warped wooden floors, and one room upstairs that no one in the family ever used. They simply called it the far room. Laura was 13 that summer. Her 14-year-old cousin, Danielle, came to stay for a couple of weeks after returning from summer camp, where one of the older counselors had taught the younger girls a strange game. She called it the Queen of Spades. The rules sounded simple, at least at first. Take 2 mirrors and place them facing each other, close enough to create a tunnel of reflections stretching into an endless distance. Put a lit candle between them, then stare into that tunnel and say her name 3 times. Queen of Spades, come to me. If you did everything correctly, somewhere deep inside that endless corridor of shrinking candle flames, a face would appear. A woman's face, and it would slowly begin moving closer. No one at camp could explain what would happen if she ever reached you. The counselor would only say one thing. It ends badly. You do not want to find out. Laura did not believe a single word of it, but she was 13 years old, and there is no force stronger than the curiosity of a bored 13-year-old girl. They waited until Laura's grandmother went to bed at around 10 that night. Then they quietly carried an old wall mirror out of the far room. It was heavy, framed in dark wood, and had been in the family longer than anyone could remember. They placed it directly across from the vanity mirror in the guest bedroom. The candle sat between them. They closed the door. Danielle went first because she had discovered the game and felt like she had something to prove. Queen of Spades, come to me. Her voice trembled on the last word. Nothing happened. Only the candle crackled, and a faint draft stirred the curtains. Queen of Spades, come to me. Laura says that was the exact moment the air inside the room changed. Not frightening yet, just heavier, like the pressure in the air right before a thunderstorm. Queen of Spades, come to me. Somewhere deep inside that endless tunnel of reflections, one of the candle flames disappeared. It did not go out. It simply turned dark, as if something had stepped between the flame and the glass far away at the end of a corridor that could not possibly exist inside such a small room. Danielle screamed first. She slammed the mirror toward the wall and ran for the door, knocking over a chair as she fled. Laura says she stayed behind for only 3 more seconds. And during those 3 seconds, she is certain she saw something standing at the very end of the reflections. It was not a face, not yet, just the outline of a woman wearing a long, dark dress, standing impossibly far away at the end of a hallway that should never have existed. Then Laura ran too. That night, they slept in the same bed, with every light in the house turned on. They promised each other they would never play that game again. For about a week, nothing happened. Laura slowly convinced herself they had simply frightened themselves in the dark. Then the sounds began. Every night at around 2:30 in the morning, something creaked inside the far room. Old houses always creak. There was nothing unusual about that, except the sound had a rhythm. Step, pause, step, pause. As if someone was slowly pacing back and forth, thinking about something. Danielle stopped sleeping almost immediately. 10 days later, she went home early. Officially, it was because she had caught a bad cold. Years later, she admitted the truth. One night, she got up to use the bathroom and passed the hallway mirror. In the reflection, she saw a woman standing directly behind her. She spun around instantly. No one was there. When she looked back into the mirror, the reflection was gone. She never returned to that farmhouse again. Laura stayed behind, mostly because her parents worked in the city and could not pick her up early. When you are 13, it is difficult to believe that the world could work any differently than what you learn in school. Near the end of July, Laura's grandmother asked her to clean the dust out of the far room. Relatives were coming to visit, and they needed the extra bedroom. The old mirror was finally going to be moved into the attic. Laura walked into the room in broad daylight. The bright sunlight made her feel safe. She grabbed the wooden frame to lift the mirror off the wall. That was when she caught her own reflection. Except it was not exactly her. The reflection moved half a second behind her. She raised her hand to brush her hair away from her face. The reflection copied the movement just a moment later, as though there was a delay between her and the glass. Laura froze. The reflection froze too. Again, just a little too late. Then it smiled. Laura never smiled. Laura let go of the mirror. It crashed onto the floor and split diagonally from corner to corner. Her grandmother rushed upstairs after hearing the noise. She found Laura sitting on the floor, pale as paper, unable to explain what had happened. The broken mirror was carried into the attic. No one ever brought it back down. By September, Laura was back home, back at school. The whole summer slowly began to feel like a strange nightmare she had imagined. Then, in November, everything came back. She was home alone one evening, doing homework at her desk while her parents were still at work. On the wall hung the same vanity mirror her parents had taken from the farmhouse. When her grandmother replaced the furniture in the guest room, Laura must have fallen asleep over her books. She woke up at around 2:30 in the morning with an overwhelming certainty that someone else was in the room. The room itself was empty, but the mirror was no longer reflecting her desk. It was not showing her bed. It was not showing the closet. Instead, it reflected a long, dark hallway stretching far beyond the walls of her bedroom. At the very end of that hallway stood a woman wearing a long, dark dress. She did not move. She simply stood there, staring directly at Laura. To this day, Laura swears that she knows exactly what she saw. She tried to scream. Nothing came out. She tried to move. Her body refused. She could only sit there watching as the figure slowly became closer. She was not walking. The distance itself seemed to be disappearing, as though the space inside the mirror was folding inward. Every second, the woman looked larger, closer, clearer. Soon, Laura could make out her face. It was unnaturally pale, completely calm. Her dark eyes held no emotion at all. They simply stared, without blinking, without looking away, just as the woman was close enough for Laura to see every detail. The front door downstairs slammed shut. Her parents had come home. Light from the hallway spilled beneath her bedroom door. At that exact moment, her voice returned. She screamed louder than she ever had in her life. Her mother rushed into the room within seconds. The mirror reflected exactly what it was supposed to. The desk, the bed, the closet, nothing else. Her parents believed it was nothing more than stress and exhaustion from school. Now they took her to a doctor who prescribed medication to help her sleep. About a week later, the vanity mirror quietly disappeared from the house. When Laura asked where it had gone, her mother only said one thing: "I just did not like it anymore." That was more than 30 years ago. Laura is 53 now. She still cannot stay alone in a room with a mirror after midnight. She is not afraid of mirrors during the day. She is not afraid of them when other people are around, only when she's alone at night. Since then, she says there have only been 2 more times when she accidentally saw something inside a mirror that should not have been there. The first happened in the changing room of a clothing store. 3 mirrors happened to face one another, creating another endless tunnel of reflections. For only a fraction of a second, she noticed something standing deep inside that tunnel, something far too solid to be a shadow. She immediately walked away. The second time happened in a hospital after surgery. It was late at night. She was lying in bed, unable to move very much. A mirrored wardrobe stood directly across from her. She says she saw movement inside the reflection, not in the room, only inside the mirror. She closed her eyes and refused to look again until morning. Laura does not know what would have happened if that woman had ever reached the end of the corridor. She has no intention of finding out. So what is the Queen of Spades? Just another campfire legend, passed from one generation of bored children to the next. A trick of the human mind, like the Troxler effect, where staring at an unmoving reflection causes the brain to invent details that were never really there. Or could it be something we still do not understand? Something we were never meant to understand? That decision is yours. But if one night you ever find 2 mirrors facing each other with a single candle burning between them, think twice before saying her name 3 times into the darkness. If this story kept you watching, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments, did you ever try to summon the Queen of Spades when you were a kid? And if you did, what did you see? I will see you in the next story, and whatever you do not leave 2 mirrors facing each other overnight.